So, welcome back. We are back in it again. Looking at our webpage right now, if you remember where we started with this guy, we had some ugly colors. We had a couple random pictures thrown on the screen. We had some text. And we had a header, but had all kinds of funky stuff in there. This just looks so much better already. Again, this is not a complete website. I wouldn't show this to my mama yet. But it is looking fantastically better than the first website we made. We made some serious improvements, and we're going to continue to make a few improvements today, though we're going to get into a couple more high-level concepts that if you're confused about them, don't worry about it. Just hit me up, tell me to stop, and I will break down whatever it is you're confused about. Now remember, I'm recording these so you can watch this all over again, so if you're lost at any point, it's okay, because I'm going to give you an entire playlist of videos to start from beginning to end, so that you can go through the stuff at your own pace. But for now, I'm going to take you back to what we did last time. Right before we broke off last time, we started to give a caption to our images right here. Bless you. We also had a discussion about inline and block level elements. If you remember really quickly, inline and block level elements just refer to the way the elements lay out on the page. Inline level elements only take up as much space as the content inside them. And if you give them a height and width, like we did here, it actually doesn't affect the size of the div or the anchor tag in this case at all. But if you look at the paragraph tag does accept height of 100 pixels and does accept width of 100 pixels because the paragraph tags by default display as block. Block level elements take up the entire width or the entire row of wherever they're laid out in your HTML. Whereas inline elements will stack up right next to each other like this. Block level elements take up their own row every time and extend all the way across the page. So knowing when to use inline and when to use block can make laying out your page way, way easier. There's also one more option, which is inline block, which means they'll accept height and width values, just like block level elements do, but they'll also stack right next to each other in a row, just like inline elements do. So we're going to mess around with those a little bit today, but there's also one other thing we talked about that helps with layout. Does anyone remember what it is? We did it in our penguin walkthrough. Remember we did the penguin game? What did we use to get the images to stack up next to each other? Remember? I heard it somewhere. We floated them. We float them left or float them right. So they flow up the river of our webpage and to whatever side that we tell them to float to. And we're going to use that a little bit today too. Don't worry again if you're confused. We're going to go over it today. So first and foremost, let's start out with making a few adjustments. So when we were trying to give each of these images a caption, the paragraph tags by default display as block. So in our style.css file, we told every paragraph inside our picture holder div to display inline. Now, if you get rid of that really quickly, you'll notice what happens. What happens when I get rid of that display inline CSS declaration? What happens to my paragraph tag? Where does it go? Yeah, to the bottom. It starts on its own row again, because automatically all paragraphs display as block, like that. Now, if you want them to stack next to each other, you have to change that block display to what? Inline. And when you do that, it lines up with the anchor tag right here, which lines up with the picture. But we still have one more problem we're looking at here. What is that problem? As soon as my caption gets a little bit bigger, more than one sentence, where does it go? To the bottom. It starts on a new line. It starts to extend down to the bottom down there. And that just doesn't look that nice. So we're actually going to do a little bit of refactoring to start everything off right here. But just to make sure I have my color palette pulled up. Does anyone remember where I got my color themes from? Google Material Design Color Themes. If you type that into Google and you click on the second link that comes up, Material Palette, it's a good way to pick the colors that you want to use in your site. It'll make your own little color palette for you. So last time I selected indigo and pink. And when I did that, it gave me this nice little preview of what I'm going to be looking at. I'm actually going to go ahead and click on the accent color right here because I'm going to reuse this color. And when you click on it, by the way, it copies the color to your clipboard so that back in my code, I can just reuse that color wherever I want. Now, my anchor tag right now is light blue. But if I want to change that, I can come in here and I'm going to make it the accent color, which is pink, hot pink. Yeah, that looks bumping. Now, on top of that, I'm actually going to take this source tag and put it at the end of my paragraph. So I'm going to come right here to find my, my source. There it is. There's my anchor tag. And I'm going to place it after the paragraph. Copy. And then on line 20, I'm going to repaste it back in. Just like that. Now, if I save this, save this one, and I refresh, I should see, there we go. Now it's after the paragraph. It's still displaying in line with the paragraph, but it's after it. I'm also going to go ahead and put a little dash right in front of that. And because I don't like the underline, I'm going to get rid of the underline for my source thing right here. How do you do that? One more style declaration inside of your picture holder space A. You just say text, decoration, none. And it gets rid of the underline. See that? Now it's still a link, but the underline's not there. I think that just looks a little bit cleaner. Now I have cited my source, for the hamster picture at least. I have a dash. The anchor tag is after my paragraph text. Cool? We all good so far? Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do actually is looking at this, looking at my HTML. I want this paragraph to not extend below the image like it is right now. Now there's a couple ways to do that. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to make a space right after the first div, and I'm going to put the image in its own div. Just like this. Now when I do that, something is automatically going to change. I'm going to refresh this. And if you look, now automatically all of the paragraph and the anchor tag starts on its own line. Why is that? That's right. All divs automatically display as block. All divs start by displaying block, which means they take up their entire row by default. So since that's the case, I have a div that holds my animal image, which I'm going to give a class of animal image. And then I want to make a div for my animal caption. What class should I give that? Yeah, good idea. Animal caption. How'd you think of that, guys? Brilliant. So I'm going to make sure I show that these are nested inside each of the divs. I'm going to give it a class equals animal caption. Now I want you guys right now to go ahead and do exactly what I did for both of the other pictures. Make sure you put the image in its own div with a class of animal image, and the paragraph and anchor tag in their own div with a class of animal caption. Go ahead and do that right now. So I'm going to let you guys finish this up, but if you refresh the page, remember that yours should start to look like this right here. Now the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to make sure we can give styles to the animal image div and styles to the animal caption div, so we can line them up right next to each other and it looks a little bit nicer. Now if you did it to both of the other images and captions as well, it should look like this. To get rid of that one. There we go. Make sure you put this guy in there as well, and I'm going to make sure I have a source for all of these. So yeah, go ahead and add a source to at the end of each paragraph caption also, just like that. We just want them to mirror the first image with the hamster. So, okay. And give the first one a class equals animal image, and the second one a class of animal caption. Now, remember that when we give divs a class, we can write one style for animal image and apply it to all three of these divs, which is super nice. Makes our work much easier. Okay, and one more div. And make sure to put the source at the end of each one. Okay, starting to look a little better. Again, one more time, one class equals animal image, and the second one, the class of animal caption. So when I save this and refresh it, here's what it should look like on your page. Something like this. All the paragraphs and the paragraph tags and the anchor tags should display in their own row because the divs take up their own entire row as they both display block by default. Again, don't worry too much if you're not 100% sure of what each of these concepts mean. We just want to see how they work so we can play around with them and try and find the best fit for each thing. Okay? Now, once we've done this, we can start to style each of these divs our own way, and I'm actually going to wrap up this video and we're going to start styling them in the next video. Okay? So I'll walk around, I'll paste it into Slack to make sure everyone has this. But if you have any questions, let me know right meow.